Slightly.
No, you're fine.
No.
I'll just be here in the room getting water and stuff.
Okay.
If it looks like I'm not here, I'm here. I do say pass it over, I'm there.
Hey guys, I think we are live. I see people going nuts in the chat. I was asking them earlier if they had done Shift Shop, and I think a lot of them were, so that's awesome. If you guys haven't done it, I'm telling you, I am somebody who hates cardio, legitimately hates it, mostly because I don't like to get my hair messed up. It's total for vanity reasons, but it takes a long time to blow dry this hair. So anyway, I love this program, and it actually made me want to go and do more cardio and up my level of that type of cardiovascular fitness. So it's been very, very good for me and worth the extra blowouts. All right, so I'm gonna pass things over to Scottie in a second. I wanna remind everybody that we have a team call now every first and third Monday of the month. So if you are in the Bombshell Dynasty, whether it's your coach is within my downline, however many levels deep, you guys are all invited to this call. So if you sign up a brand new coach, this is something that you can connect them to from here out. If you are a diamond and above, we have a special call on the second and fourth Monday of the month that we're going to be doing. And that's exclusively for diamonds and above. You have to be an active diamond, not a lifetime diamond, but a current paid diamond to be a part of those calls. Those are going to be exclusive Zooms that I've set up with some of the top leaders on our team, with some special corporate visitors. We had Carl Deichler last week, which was pretty amazing. And that's going to be something that's going to continue on. So if you maybe used to be a diamond and you dropped off, that's another reason to get back. If you are on the brink of hitting diamond, like another reason to be able to get plugged into those calls. If you are not a part of our new Dynasty Diamonds group, let your sponsor know. If your sponsor's not a diamond, you can reach out to me specifically and request to join it, and I will verify everything and get you added in, and it'll be a part of our tribe again. So anyway, I am excited to pass things over to Scottie. Scottie is kind of near and dear to my heart. He was one of these coaches that came into my life from YouTube, and I talked to him on and off for like 9 months before he signed up. The reason why he didn't initially sign up is he didn't want to pay the sign-up fee, and even when they waived the sign-up fee, he didn't want to pay the monthly fee. So it's kind of funny. I remember him actually deciding to sign up and using, Billy and I were laughing about this the other night, Scottie. We were talking about how crazy is it that you signed up and you used to use your neighbor's Wi-Fi to be able to log in and do work with Beachbody. And I just talked to him. We were talking about just like, gosh, if you really want to do this, you can do it, because you bought and sold stuff on eBay to be able to afford your sign-up cost. You were working a full-time job. Gabby was working a full-time job at night, vice versa. Like, you guys would get home, somebody else would go back off to work. And you were I remember you using your lunch hours to do like back-to-back new coach calls and mentorship calls. And you would listen to Craig Holiday, which for those of you who don't know Craig Holiday, it's basically like training calls like these that you would listen to all day during work. So you just fit it in. And it wasn't convenient, and it wasn't easy, and it wasn't overnight, but you made it happen. And it's always been your consistency and your persistency just to not give up, to not make excuses that you knew you're going to make short-term sacrifices, but for the long-term success. And it's funny, Scottie's coming to us right now from Maui, where he's spending 6 weeks solid with his team. Like, he just left. He came in for this call, running in. He's like, hey, I got to get some water. I was just out boogie boarding with my kids in the ocean in Maui. And then as soon as he leaves, he's coming to Coach Summit. So it's like, talk about a life by design. We talk about, being able to work those first few years to be able to live how others won't, so that you can eventually live how others can't. That is living how others can't. Like, most people cannot just go off to Maui for 6 weeks, go rent a house, and then, when they have to come in and do work, come in quickly, pop on this little call and take from there. But Scottie is a $1 million earner in Beachbody. He's a 14-star in his first, an 8-star in his second. He's a 5-time elite coach. He was a top 10 coach. I mean, he has pretty much every accolade that one could have. He's a member of the coach advisory board. I could go on and on. But just to tell you, you're about to hear from someone who has not just talked the talk, he walked the walk. He made the sacrifices. He dug in deep. I'm sure he could tell you, he wasn't where he needed to be to get where he is today. It has taken so much personal development and so much personal growth for him to get to the place that he's in now. but I know that he would say it was 100% worth it. And I am so proud to introduce one of my very favorite people on this whole planet, Scottie Hobbs. So Scottie, I'll throw it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. Can you hear me, Lindsay?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. If it looks like my eyes are red, we got slammed a lot with the wave, so my eyes are I got a little bit salt in the eyes. So thanks for sharing that with me. It's crazy to think back about the journey. As I get prepared for this and deliver what I want to deliver to you guys today, I took a lot of notes because I talk for like hours if I do not. So I have some key points written down so I can give you guys the best that I can in this short amount of time. So I'm going to start off with how many of you guys, I know I can't see, but ask yourself this question. Find it hard to stay disciplined to your daily activities. Find it hard to stay excited about what you're doing, or maybe there's times in seasons of your coach journey where it's not fun and times it was fun, and you just want to kind of figure out how to have fun all of the time with your coach journey, despite the ups and downs that are going to happen in business, and be able to stay disciplined long term. And this is not just for your business, it's also for your transformation. I've been through a lot of trials over the past even 6-7 years of being a coach, and after starting P90X. And one thing I've learned, I'm going to be a little bit, I'm going to be scriptural in this. I'm going to share some stories because I believe stories connect the strongest with people. They connect strongest with me, at least. And one thing I want you guys to know is that the person that tells the story the most wins. So with that being said, I'm going to tell a little bit of my story, and I'm going to do it as probably the quickest I've ever done before. And then I'm going to tell you 4 stories of somebody from the Bible that are going to help you discover what your purpose is, realize that you're good enough, realize that you got to set goals, and then realize that you have to work and stay committed to that. So like Lindsay said, guys, it was April 11th, 2011, and it was about 18 days after the birth of my daughter, Alina. And she's now 6, which is crazy to think. I was sitting in my cubicle early one morning about 5 o'clock before I started work, and I started going through my mail that I used to take. I used to pick it up in the lockbox, take it with me, and I was going through that mail. And I opened the hospital bill, the baby doctor bill, the anesthesiologist bill, and a few others. And you have to realize that my wife was home from work as well at this time because she worked nights, and so she's off 3 weeks with the birth of the new baby. So we're missing her income. These bills are coming in. And I began to think about those questions. Like, does she go back to work? Do I get another job? Do I have to pay for a babysitter for 3 kids now? And I remember this day as if it was yesterday, and I felt this heavy weight on my shoulders. Felt like the world was spinning around me. And I had felt that previously in my life at night when you're trying to sleep and you can't fall asleep because your mind's spinning. But this day it was a heavy feeling. And I remember that I felt like I was drowning, and I was afraid that day. But guys, I'm grateful for that day because that's the day that my fear of not knowing how to take care of my family became greater than my fear of failing as a team Beachbody coach. And that's why I did not sign up during those 8 months that Lindsay had been talking to me. And that day is the day that I joined Team Beachbody as a coach after playing with the idea for 8 months. Guys, the programs, P90X changed my life and helped me lose 38 pounds in 90 days. Like, I was sold on the programs. It took me those 8 months to realize that this was something that I could do, and it would be something for me, guys. And that day I made a decision. I want you guys to, whenever I say I made a decision, I want you to think, have I made a decision? Ask yourself that question. I made a decision that I would do whatever it took to bring my wife home from work. And I would do whatever it took to bring her home from work and not be the guy that had to take every single overtime job just so that we could make it. I worked 5 to 5 every day, but like if something broke down, I was always the one to raise my hand, because I knew how to do everything there because I'm a go-getter and a hard worker. But I would volunteer to do that, not because I loved to be in the factory, but because I needed that overtime. So that day I decided I would do whatever it took to never have to be that person. And so that's the day I started as a coach in 2011 in April. I realized this was my calling about 8 months later. This call is about finding your purpose. So when I say find your calling, I'm talking about finding your purpose. It was about 8 months into my journey. I'd hit Success Club 10 every single month of my journey. It's hard. I still feel like I'm drowning at times because I'm still working 12-hour days. My business is growing. I'm trying to manage and take care of everything and become a leader. So it's getting hard. But I'm home with what I like to call the man cold for 3 days. You guys know what this is. The women on this call know what it is when your man gets sick. They're sick for days. It's like the world's going to end. So I was like that. And it was about 3 days later on a Friday afternoon that my wife came to me. Gabby came and said, Scottie, you should get up. You should take a shower and go get Kina from the school bus. It'll help you feel better if you just get up and do something. So I showered. I got dressed. I started walking towards the school bus. And I was about halfway down the cul-de-sac, guys. That day when the bus pulled up and it came to a stop, and I remember the doors of the bus opening, you know, they pulled a lever and it creaks open. And I saw these two little hands of a 5-year-old girl grab the handrails, and she looked up and she saw her daddy. And I remember she smiled bigger than anything I'd ever previously remembered. And it immediately brought me to tears, stopped me dead in my tracks in the middle of my cul-de-sac. And I realized how many moments had I missed like this? How many would I continue to miss if I don't change our situation, if I don't continue to push through this pain and this struggle that I'm currently in as a successful brand new coach hitting Success Club 10? It was that afternoon that I was called to, I was called as a Beachbody coach. It was no longer just about bringing my wife home. It was, I realized that I too wanted to work from home, and I never, ever, ever wanted to miss another day of their lives. And I also really realized something even greater, that if this ex-drug addict, college dropout could do it, I could inspire and motivate others as well, anybody, to accomplish whatever it is they wanted out of their lives if I could do it. So that's when I realized my purpose. And today I feel blessed without fear and working from Maui for almost 7 weeks, paying for Gabby's parents to come out in just a couple of days so they can experience this as well. And guys, the one thing I want you guys to understand is we're continuing to build our legacy, and we're leading with a heart-led, passionate team of people and a company built on integrity. And yes, I'll be straightforward and say I had people leave. I did, as well as many others. But why is that not deterring me, my happiness and my purpose and my drive, but it's making me work harder and with more passion and more drive? Because I want to continue to find and build this legacy with people that believe what I believe, and continue to do this with a company that's built on integrity. So guys, I found my purpose, and here's something, I have something I want to help you guys with, and I know Lindsay posted it everywhere, but I just put it in my Google Documents. Go to bit.ly/find purpose worksheet. Okay, that's something you're going to need later if you want to figure this out. But I always wondered, guys, I always tried to figure out with my coaches, with my team, with people from outside the team that come to me, and they're like, how do you stay so excited and so committed? And you're always there. You always show up every single day, no matter what. Like, I've been through some of the biggest trials that anybody can face, even in the past year. And how do I still show up and actually pour in more during those trials? And it's because I'm very clear on that purpose. So I'm going to actually tell you guys what my purpose is so you can understand where I'm coming from and why. Like, you see from the outside that I show up, that I make like a YouTube video, a Facebook Live video every single day, that I'm doing the shift shop, even though I hate cardio like Lindsay, that I did Sean Week, even though I hate Sean T workouts. Like, why do I do that? And why do I get on Facebook Live every day and do YouTube and work so hard? And it's because I know my purpose, and I'm going to share that with you guys today. So my name is Scottie Hobbs, you guys. I am a husband and father to 5 beautiful children. I love the outdoors, and I'm an entrepreneur who invests in people. I love personal growth, health, and fitness. I love to serve people. I love helping people overcome their fears and obstacles. I love teaching them how to use their personal life stories and experiences to help other people believe in themselves and find more happiness, joy, and purpose in life. Hence why I'm on this call today when I was out at the ocean. I help fathers and mothers who know deep inside that there's a better way to live life and provide for their families. And I do it so these children can grow up knowing their parents, and so that these parents can be great role models to their children. These parents also, aside from that, need more positive relationships and role models in their lives. They need people who support them in going after their dreams and love them for being vulnerable about who they are and who encourage them to face their fears. They need a way to get out of debt, build a retirement, and have more time freedom to spend their lives with loved ones. They want to spend more time with their children and their spouses and less time at work. So when people embrace this way of life, they find a sense of purpose, and they find happiness and joy in everyday encounters with their life. They become victors rather than victims, and they become more healthy, fit, and vibrant. And they bring a spirit of positivity and an uplifting sense of joy into people's lives. They find a positive channel to funnel their energies and share their story and message, which I believe can make a real difference in this world. And they can go out and change the lives of other people by doing these things. And then, guys, that is when they're able to create a life by design, which means they become the CEO of their own lives. And when this happens, they're able to reach and impact more people on a bigger scale and a bigger level, and be able to spend time with those that matter most. Guys, the people that matter most to me are Gabby, Kina, Mila, Alina, Kalem, and Malik. So guys, I have that worksheet for you. Lindsay dropped it. It has 5 questions to help you fill it out in detail about who you are, who you want to help, how what you do helps other people, and how their lives change because of that. So I want to make sure that you guys download that, and I'm sure Lindsay will put the link to that Google Doc in the recording of this video as well. So guys, I'm going to share a couple of stories. That was my story, my life, but I'm going to share some stories that really have impacted me, of who I want to model my life after, and who I've, especially over the past year. And so guys, I realized that day that I was called. And so we're going to title this, we're going to go over 4 things real quick. Realize that you are called. And so you've got to be all in. And the stories about Elisha, maybe some of you guys have heard about Elisha in 1 Kings, but there's a quote, scripture, I'm going to read it to you. And it says, and he returned back from him, and he took a yoke of oxen and slew them and boiled their flesh with the instruments of the oxen and gave to the people, and they did eat. Then he arose and went after Elijah and ministered to him. So guys, what I want you guys to understand is Elisha, this man Elisha, was a hardworking and disciplined man. And from what I could understand from reading and studying is that he was doing pretty good for himself. He owned a farm, he owned his own oxen, he owned his own equipment. So he had his own business, but he had no purpose behind his work. So every day he would wake up, eat, plow, stare at the rear of the ass, eat dust, eat, plow, stare at the rear of the oxen again, eat dust, eat, go to bed, and then repeat the next day. Does that sound familiar? It sounded like my life before. Then one day, Elijah the prophet came, and this is all he did. He threw the cloak over Elisha's shoulders as Elisha was out in the field with his oxen, and he anointed him the successor to this most famous and well-known prophet of time. He didn't talk to him for hours. He didn't interview him. He didn't ask him all about his dark secrets and his dark past. He was chosen and he was called. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. Have you ever felt called to do more or do something different with your life? So God had more for Elisha's life than just the monotony of plowing those fields and running that business that he had. Well, I believe that Lindsay, myself, each and every one of you guys, I believe we're similar to where God is calling us out of a monotonous life where we have no passion and no room to share our gifts. And that was me before 6 years ago. It was wake up, drive to work, write manuals, go on break, help with the service department, eat lunch, help with the shipping department, go home, eat, play with the kids for a couple hours, play Call of Duty, go to bed, wake up, and repeat. That was my life. And so, you know, I can't ever take any of that back. Like, it helped me in many ways. It helped me learn discipline, time management, some leadership, and continued hard work, but I was not living a purpose and I had no passion for that work. So when April 11th came, the story I told you guys a little bit earlier, and shortly after that, 8 months after that, my school bus experience, I had my moment. Let's call it my moment, similar to the moment that Elisha had. And I knew that there was something greater for me. There was something bigger in store for me that day. I realized that. I accepted that. So what really stands out to me about Elisha, guys, from that verse above, and I want you guys to take note of this, is that he destroys the only means to his stable and comfortable life. He destroys the only thing that sustains his life and gives him food to eat. He kills his oxen and burns his plows and follow that calling. Now, you guys aren't going to kill anybody. You're not going to burn anything down, guys, but this is what I want you to think about as you analyze that. Am I that all in? Am I that all in on my purpose and my calling? And I believe that when it talks about burn the plows, this is more symbolic of something much bigger, okay? It's more symbolic of something like the things that chain you and I to the ordinary life, like a job that's not in line with what God has called you to do, or the passionless, purposeless approach and effort that you're currently putting into your Team Beachbody business with mediocre efforts, okay? I hope you guys can take that in. A passionless, purposeless effort and approach to your Team Beachbody business or your current job, and putting little or mediocre efforts into your Beachbody business. Guys, it also could be representative of a life that's a little too safe, a lifestyle that's a little bit too comfortable and mundane. Basically what it boils down to, guys, it's important that you make a decision. You're gonna hear me say make a decision a couple times, like Elisha did, a decision that when a greater purpose, goal, vision comes into your life, for you to say, okay, God, I'm all in. And whether this means you're leaving something behind or becoming more passionate about where you're at in life, that's up to you, okay? So make sure that you take that purpose, download that purpose, find your purpose worksheet, and you really take some time. Like sometimes you have to pause in life and in your business for a day or two and make sure that you're dialed in on your purpose. Because the one thing I've understand, guys, I always wonder, why are people not disciplined? Why are not people following through like I follow through? And I believe it's because I used to think it was a problem with discipline, a problem with being consistent and all that stuff. But what I've realized is it's a lack of purpose. Write that down. If you're not disciplined, it's a lack of purpose. So we make this decision to, as we find and develop our purpose, which is going to continue to grow with time. Understand you don't have to know it all at once. Guys, remember, I discovered my bigger purpose at 8 months in. But we're all human. Like, we're going to have those doubts. The inner brain is going to tell us, can I really do this? And so the next lesson I want to give you comes from his life as well, from the life of Elisha. And I want you to write this down. Am I good enough? Write that down. Am I good enough? And so here, there's a story I want to tell you about. It's a sad story a little bit. One of Elisha's fellow prophets died. He passed away and he left this widow. And so she came to Elisha, because Elisha is the prophet. He's been called at this time. She comes to Elisha to pour out her troubles about losing her husband. But even worse, there's creditors coming. Like the bank of the time is coming to her, and they're threatening to take away her sons as slaves. Now, to me, that sounds like a pretty rough situation. And I know that each and every one of you guys have had hard situations, or as like Les Brown says, if you're not in a hard situation right now, you're either coming right out of one or headed into one. So you're gonna be in them at some point. I know I've been through some hard ones in the past 6 months. I know Lindsay's going through some hard ones. So you gotta understand that. So that's what this widow is going through, a very hard situation in her life. But the prophet asked her one simple thing. Tell me what it is that you have in your house. He doesn't just help her right away. A lot of times you want to go to your upline coach and just like, help me, I need some help. Like, help me, Scottie, I need to know what to do exactly. But what he does, we could take this example, and it may seem strange at such a time of such trouble. Like she just lost her husband. She's a new widow. She's about to lose her sons. During this time of trouble and turmoil, Elisha asked her one thing. He says, tell me what it is that you have in your house. Okay? She responds with saying, your servant has nothing there at all except a little oil. And guys, what I want you guys to understand is that a little oil was all that she needed. A little oil was all that she needed. So I want you guys to take note of this. Elisha then tells her, go around and ask all your neighbors for empty jars. So go collect empty jars. Don't ask for just a few. Get a ton of them. Go inside with your sons. Go inside the door. Shut the door. Take that little oil you have and pour it into all of the jars that you've collected until each is filled, and then put the jars to the side. I get the chills thinking about this. The widow does as she asked, and then a miracle happens. Every single jar that she collected with her sons was filled to the top. And once the last jar was filled, the miraculous flow of oil stops. She then goes back to Elisha to report what she's done and tells her about the oil. He tells her, sell the oil and repay the debts. So guys, I'm going to ask you, this is a miracle, right? And sometimes I think in my business, miracles happen. So like this is a miracle that happened when she did this. And so how did this miracle start? I want you guys to think about this. How did this great miracle start? Because Elisha tells her, take this oil, sell it, and repay the debts. And so everything's okay. Her sons aren't taken. She does as she's asked, and she's okay. So how did this miracle start? It started with something, that little bit of oil. And sometimes, guys, in our lives, in our Beachbody businesses, in our lives, we have these huge goals. I get that, right? So I know that I did from the very beginning, and they grew larger as that 8-month time came, and I wanted to leave this to do this full time for me. But the inside conversation that I was having with myself with the time was that I did not have enough. And I think, I can't remember who says it, but he says, if there's no enemy within, there's no enemy on the outside that can do you harm. So you got to understand that part of the game. So the things that I was thinking about, the inner conversation that I was having about myself is that I didn't have enough. Like I had just a little bit. Like she said, I just have a little oil. I felt I didn't have that much. I didn't have enough people skills, enough followers, enough marketing skills. I didn't have enough time. I didn't have enough belief in myself. So it's kind of like what this widow said, what I went through, and it said, your servant has nothing there at all. That's how I felt. So guys, we oftentimes tend to focus on what we do not have. Like this widow, she didn't have anything except a little bit of oil. But a little bit of oil, guys, write this down, was the vessel for an extraordinary miracle. So I want you guys to realize that oftentimes we excuse ourselves from going after our purpose, goals, and dreams because we tend to believe that we don't have enough for God to work with. We feel inadequate. We feel like we may have a lack of training. We're in an inside leg. We have awkward people skills. We have great people that left us. We're introverted. We don't have enough experience. All of these things, guys, the list can go on and on. So are you guys thinking about any of those? Are any of those things what you've gone through? Because they're things that I've certainly gone through. And I had to talk with one of my brand new rock star coaches about this today. One of the enemy's most efficient strategies is to get you to focus on what you do not have, what you used to have, or what someone else has that you wish you had. So guys, what this is going to do if you get into that thinking is it's going to keep you from saying, okay, what can you do with what I have? And remember that you can focus on what you do have and ask for help. And God can work miracles through you in your life. I attest to this wholeheartedly. So my question to you guys today is, are you willing to focus on your talents, your gifts, your abilities, your uniqueness that God has blessed you with, and share them with the world as a Team Beachbody coach? I want you to answer that to yourself. Are you willing to do that? So we've talked about two things. We've learned how to find your purpose and discover what your purpose is and realize how important that is so that you stay disciplined and committed. We've realized that you are worth it. You have enough for God to work with. Now, we can't just like hocus pocus and things are going to happen with that. You've got to hit goals, right? So I'm going to talk briefly on hitting goals. Because if you have a purpose but no goals tied behind it, you're not going to achieve anything of significance and challenge yourself outside your comfort zone. So you guys have goals, right? And if you don't have them written down, please do that. Please don't just say you have your goals, write them down. Be the 1% of people that actually write their goals down. Be that person that leaves this call today. We all want something bigger and greater out of our lives, but how come? And I'm so passionate about this subject. How come we want it until we have to start working? I'll share with you guys today about work. Like, I believe that I'm where I'm at because I had a little bit for God to work with, but then I was willing to work my ass off harder than anybody else, okay? So we're going to relate that to digging, okay? I'm going to tell a story about digging and working. So I want you to think about this aspect. You got to set your goals, and then you got to start digging. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is there's another story about Alicia. I like Alicia, if you can't tell. He tells what happens is, like, have you guys heard the story? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. I'll tell it to you briefly so you understand. It's a story when God delivers Moab to his people. So Elisha's the prophet at this time, and he tells the king that the water is going to flow from Edom by tomorrow morning. Their armies and animals will no longer be thirsty, and their prayers will be answered. There's a big drought. They're going to die. They're not going to be able to be saved. And so they go to the prophet Elisha. They need help. And he says their armies and their animals will no longer be thirsty. Their prayers are going to be answered. So maybe Lindsay, maybe myself, maybe your upline is like telling you the water's going to come. Your people are going to be saved. They're no longer going to be thirsty, and your prayers are going to be answered. Okay, relate this story to your Beachbody business, to what your upline's telling you, to what Carl Deichler's telling you. But here's the thing, guys. Elisha tells the kings that they must take action. He says, you must make the valley full of ditches. That's all he says. So most people, including the king at this time, would say, why would we build a ditch when there's no water and no rain in the forecast? Guys, you see, this is how faith works. When God gives you guys a sign or an answer, the only way to exercise and to act with your faith is with massive action. So that's going to be your work, okay? The only way to act in faith is to show your work with action, massive action when works, or as Gary Vaynerchuk says, execution. And yes, I'm putting Gary Vaynerchuk and Alicia in the same category. So the king wanted this answer or solution, but instead, from Alicia, he got a work order. Many of you guys are just waiting for this answer and this solution, but we're giving you a work order today, okay? And this is what Alicia told the king. Get your men, pick up a shovel, and start digging. Guys, it would have been nice, right, if they could have just woke up to this abundance mindset, hydration, abundance, positive thinking, hydration, water-based, positive thoughts, whatever you want to call it, and maybe some visualization of seeing water flow abundantly into their lives, and then they're saved, right? That would be nice, but that's not how it works. Like, that's a part of goal setting, is visualizing it happening, but that is not how God operates at all, guys. God works in such a way that as if, like, if you really believe that I can bring you the promise, show me by faith that you're going to do your part. And then he says, I'll be faithful in bringing you the promises. So that night, guys, if you know the story, the entire nation, not just the king, not just Lindsay, not just me, the entire nation, your entire team, pitched in and dug all night long. The next morning, the water arrived. The rains came. The ditches were all filled with water. And the water, instead of the water flowing away, it was captured in these ditches, and the animals and the armies were refreshed, and they were able to overtake those Moabites. Guys, write this down. I'm telling you, write this down. Only God can send the rain, but he expects you to dig the ditches. And like I mentioned, like we all want something greater in life. It's how we have to start digging. I mean, picture it. Like picture these guys. Picture the work, like hard dirt. It's pitch dark. It's working throughout the night. Nothing but a few words from a preacher. God expects us to grab the shovel, but this does not mean we have to do it alone. It does not mean we have to do all the work. God will bring the rain, but our job is to grab the shovels and dig these ditches together as a team. Guys, see, I'm relating this story back to Team Beachbody. It was a major sacrifice, and you guys can watch my video on sacrifices, see the sacrifices I've gone through. It's a sacrifice, believe it or not, for me to come running in from the beach with my girls to do this call right now. You got to always be willing to do sacrifices. It was a major sacrifice for the people to stay up all night digging those ditches all over the valley. But here's what I want to ask you, and this is the one thing I remind myself every day as I read out loud my purpose statement before I work. Is it really a sacrifice when God is asking me to do it in order to bring more abundance into my life and into the life of my family and friends? So here's the question I want you to ask yourself. Write these down. Do you have enough faith to dig a ditch even when you cannot see the rain, the wind, or the forecast has rain or wind in the forecast? Guys, it's going to be lonely. There's going to be challenges at times. There's going to be times when it feels like nobody's supporting you or telling you that you're doing the right thing. There's going to be times when people are leaving and you're like distracted, like, is this the right thing? So do you have enough faith to continue digging ditches even though you cannot see the wind or the rain? Number 2, write this down. What small steps and practices are you being asked to do? Guys, it's the 4 vital behaviors, knowing what your purpose is, writing your goals, and doing the 4 vital behaviors. Guys, remember that you cannot expect God to entrust you with a big goal or dream if you are not willing to take actions and grow into the person that is eligible for that blessing. Hence the 4th the vital behavior of personal development. You cannot expect him to entrust you with a big dream or goal if you aren't willing to take actions to grow into the person of the blessing. Guys, I could tell you exactly why I'm not a 15-star diamond coach, because there were things that I was doing in my life that did not align with my purpose. And like, I know clearly that it's going to happen now because I've become completely, entirely aligned with my purpose and my values and my actions. So I know the rain is coming, and that's why I continue to dig the ditches as hard and as fast as I can. Guys, you can dig your ditches. I want you to think about your daily actions, your 4 vital behaviors as ditches. If you really believe that God is abundant and wants to bless your life, we need to be digging all kinds of ditches. Realize that when the rain comes in the future, you have to have done the work prior, like these guys did throughout the night. You can't just come running out with a little bucket and hope to catch some and achieve all your goals and dreams. You got to be digging these ditches right now. So we can dig these ditches with every means possible, guys. Your words, your thoughts, your expectations, your prayers, your actions, your relationships, and doing the 4 vital behaviors, okay? So we talked about finding your purpose, realizing, yes, I'm good enough, realizing that you have to actually work and dig the ditches and do them consistently and do it in the hard dirt and the hard times and throughout the night and make sacrifices. Now, guys, what is the next step? What are these daily actions and how can you do them, how they apply to us? I'm going to tell you one last story that really impacted my life and helped me make some changes in my life. And I hope through my experience, it can help you as well. And it's going to be doing the vital behaviors and doing the vital behaviors with everything aligned. So how many of you guys have a great, like these huge goals, and you're like, you want to achieve everything that you've ever thought of in your life. You've written them out. You've made your dream boards and all of that stuff. But maybe it's just not happening. I'm going to talk to you guys about something that I believe is holding so many people back, including myself, for 6 years. Okay, this is what it is. You guys have, I'm going to ask yourself this question. You guys got to sit down when you do your purpose statement. Do you have too much pride to go out and make a difference in the lives of other people? I'm going to tell you a story real quick about a man named Naaman. From what I understand, Naaman was a man of huge influence. Okay. And guys, as I tell this, I picture myself. I had what you would call a disease of some sort. I was not a leper, but I had some sort of disease that was holding me back and holding me down for almost my entire life. Okay, so from what I understand, this Naaman guy, he was this man of huge influence. And so he came down with this disease. And disease is a big deal, guys. It was leprosy. It was an incurable disease that led to complete body, facial disfigurement. The lepers were completely quarantined into a different part of town to die alone. And this man of influence, this leper, Naaman, hears about Elisha the prophet and these miracles that I've talked about that he's doing. And he figures out if there's a shot at being cured, this is it. And so this is the point in his life that we begin to see that there might be another problem greater than his leprosy. I get the chills thinking about this. Sorry, guys. From what I can read about Naaman, it's eating him up on the inside faster than the disease is consuming his flesh on the outside. Naaman shows up to Elisha's home with horses, chariots, like 10 sets of clothing, silver, gold, and all these gifts to give to the prophet for his service. Naaman, he gets to the prophet's door and he's surprised because he stopped at the door. And I believe Naaman, he's like thrown back in this thought, like, I'm this great man of influence. Why is Elisha not coming out to greet me? I have all these gifts and I'm a man of influence. Why am I not being treated like a king? Instead, Elisha the prophet sends a messenger out with some instructions. So I don't know I'm acting like this. He says, go wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan and your flesh will be restored and you will be cleansed. Okay, I'm going to pause right here and say something. Like, there are things in my life I've heard in personal development forever and ever and ever, and I was too prideful to go and do the simple things that I needed to do to change that. Go wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan and your flesh will be restored and you will be cleansed. Guys, this was an incurable disease. You would think that he would be pumped and excited and enthusiastic about this news on how to rid himself of this disease. But when he hears about this news, he flies into a rage. And I assume these could have been some of his thoughts because I've been through similar things in my life. Dip myself in that filthy excuse of a river? I would have dipped myself in the rivers back home. They're much cleaner. They're much purer than this river than a man. Like, I should dip myself in these much clearer and more pure rivers because I'm a man of influence. Guys, he was willing to do anything to be cleansed except for dip himself in that river. And I believe, though, he is much like many of us. And I want you guys, as I say some of these, to give examples, write down the ones that you are facing in your life. Guys, I will extend my love to anybody except that person. I'm willing to forgive anything except that offense. I'm willing to go anywhere except to that place. Maybe this one for you guys. I'm willing to do anything except for those things. Guys, I don't believe that God asks us to do certain things that we feel are below us because it's a punishment, rather than that because he loves us. He does it to test our faith and our obedience. And when God asks us to do these humbling things that we can recognize our pride. And this man, this great man, Naaman, and you guys, myself included, are about to miss out on a big miracle. In this story, Naaman is too great for his own well-being. As he storms away in anger from Elisha's house, one of his servants asks him a very powerful question that I believe that we can each ask ourselves in many different aspects of our life. He says, if the prophet, guys, relate this to your Beachbody business or whatever it is that you're facing in your life. If the prophet had told you some great thing, would you not have done it? How much more than when he tells you, wash and be cleansed? Guys, how many times, and I'm going to tell you guys, you're gonna hear this, you're going to write this down, you're going to be thinking about what do I need to change to go to the next level, to build my business to the next level, to make the influence that I need to make. And there's going to be times when it seems like God is not there. You're praying and you're working and it feels dark and alone and it feels like he's not listening, like you've been abandoned. Trust me, I've been there more times than I would like. But the one thing I want you guys to understand, and this came to me right now, this is not part of what I planned to talk to you guys about. It's actually something I shared at church recently. I've had moments like that. And what I realized is that God is our teacher. And all during our life, we're given tests. And when is the teacher most quiet? It's when you're being tested. So I want you guys to remember that. When it seems like it's not working, when it seems like your prayers aren't being answered and you're putting all the effort and work in, remember that the teacher is quietest when you are being tested. So to end this out, how many times have we missed out on opportunities to serve and love and grow our business and our team and our income because we felt that it was the activities that we're asked to be doing, the 4 vital behaviors, are insignificant and they wouldn't make a difference. It's so important, guys, that we find our purpose, we get dialed in on that, we realize that we're worthy of living it, that we set these goals, that we dig ditches, we work hard, we stay disciplined in the 4 vital behaviors of a successful coach. We are not prideful. We change through personal development, not just listen to it, but actually change. And I know this is a long shot for you guys and for myself, and it's a challenge for each and every one of you guys to take daily note of the impact that each of your small decisions are going to make over the course of your lives. Not just for you, but for your family and the people that you're going to come in contact with. Guys, by small things, we will become great and we're going to make a difference. So Lindsay, that's all I have to share with you guys today. And I went about 10 minutes longer than I wanted to, but I hope that helped you guys out.
Oh, I'm back. Sorry. No, awesome job. And I loved the part, especially about digging the ditches. And I think about sort of the phase that Beachbody's in right now. And some of the people that have had people leave. And it can be like, oh my gosh, you know, is the well drying up? And to me, this is like more than ever, I'm digging those ditches hardcore. I mean, I just feel so much more in it than I've ever been before, knowing in my heart, like there is tons coming to fill those ditches. And I hope and pray that like you guys will dig in faith. And it does take faith. I think Scottie can tell you, and I know I can tell you, that my initial first year or 2 in Beachbody was a lot of digging in faith. It was a lot of visualizing where I was going to be and knowing it was going to be worth the labor I was putting in. In a society that is a microwave, instant, quick fix thing, if you look around, it's not working. You know, like it might seem like it's working for a minute, but it doesn't work long term. At the end of the day, hard work is what really gets you places. And so, yes, this is not the easiest. It's not the easiest. But if you take the easy route, I promise you, it doesn't have near the payoff. And you only get one life to live, right? So like, I just feel like, why take the easy street? Why sacrifice and say, oh, okay, well, I'm good with settling with this when you only get this one life? And I know, having a 6-month-old right now, how fast time goes. Like, it was a reminder. I mean, obviously London's 8 years old. I know with Scottie, you know, 5 kids. Seeing those kids grow up is a reminder of how fast time goes. Like, it is insane that in a blink of an eye, 6 months has gone by. And in another blink, it'll be a year, and then 2 years and 3 years. And before I know it, I'm going to be 40 and 50 and 60 and 70. And like, I do not want to take a moment for granted. And I feel like I was given this opportunity. I know Scottie was given this opportunity to make the absolute most of it. Like, I don't want to think, oh, what if I would have pushed a little bit harder? Or what if I pretend that I'm doing all this work, but I'm actually, when it comes down to it, I'm skipping over things. Like, I'm kind of giving it my best effort at the moment because I don't feel like making that sacrifice. So dig some ditch, my friends, and hopefully I will see many of you guys at Summit. I know we have, I think, one more team call before then. Yeah, so it'll be the first week of July that we have our team call. So I will see you there. But if you have any possible way of getting to Summit, I see all kinds of hotels popping up, people last minute not being able to go. I remember going to my very first Summit. There were 6 of us in one hotel room. Not because I wanted to stay with 6 girls, though it was a fun memory, because that's all like we could afford. And I am so thankful that I went. Like, talk about being able to see the bigger vision of what this could become, going to an event, seeing people in person, meeting people in person, realizing, hey guys, guess what? Scottie and I, we are just normal people. Like, this is not a Reese's cup, by the way. It's a apple. We are normal people, and we have families, and we have insecurities, and we have, like, I know Scottie and I both are introverts. Like, we're normally in our house by ourselves. So it's scary for us too. And I just think that if anybody on this call can possibly find a way, even if it means driving 12 hours, even if it means rooming with 5 other people to make it affordable, dude, seriously, take the risk and do it. You have one life to live. I promise you, it's going to be worth it. I actually saw the pictures pop up on my timeline the other day, and I was like, oh my gosh, what a funny memory. And our dream, like, the next year, we're like, next year, we're going to have 30 coaches, you know? And I was just like dreaming small, but at the time it felt so big to even think of 30. And now think about how many coaches on Bombshell Dynasty will possibly be at Summit. But it all started with a group of 8 people total that went to Summit, 6 of which girls stayed and shared one bathroom the entire time and made it happen. So I promise you it'll be worth it. I challenge some of you on the call who've been thinking about it to jump, and I promise it'll blow your mind. But Scottie, thank you so much for taking the time to be on with us. Go back with those kids and enjoy what you have earned. And I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye, guys.
See you guys later.